Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It is so good to see all of you. My name is Katie Gideon. I will be the on-camera facilitator for this weekly set of social. I'm dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland. I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator in the chat. You will see Jennifer Kay. See her from Minnesota. She's hanging out with us today as well. Since I feel like a little bit, I always feel like a little bit of an imposter when I come in on the Mondays, where it's usually the team Jennifer's. But I am glad to be here. I hope everyone has had a great weekend and ready to set up for that final week 4 of the March setup. So I'm already seeing some of our returning socialers in the chat. Welcome back. It's always great to see you. But let us know in the chat if you want, if you are new or if this is your first time, maybe it's your first Monday setup. It's your new, you're new to this, new to the whole social as well. But if not, don't worry. As just a reminder to make sure that if you want to share with the larger Sonder fam in the chat, make sure that that chat is set to everyone. The default is host and panelist. That comes to myself and Jennifer. So we're always glad to answer questions there, but we usually assume you're going to want someone else's thoughts and opinions. So just double check that it's there. And as always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. And then, as always, we will probably redirect some of those customer care inquiries to our team, hello@silkensonder.com. And as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. You're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. And so with that being said, if you've had a weekend and you're ready to kind of brush it off, all of those things, certainly we're glad that you've come exactly as you are. We are going to work through some of these prompts, then set up our a social. And with the socials, there's certainly a cadence, I feel like, that comes to these. And that's one of those that maybe you want to just be here to listen to the music or listen to me talking. Maybe I am too much for you on a Monday morning. You can mute me and just focus on your journal. You can get inspiration from the slides. You can just kind of be in the chat looking for inspiration or support, all of those things. So there is no right or wrong way to participate in a social, just as there are no due dates. There are no requirements on progress here. We just want you to take what you need from this particular social because we are glad that you're here taking this time aside to get prepped for the upcoming week. So we are still exploring the month's theme of vitality. And I feel like I have come this kind of almost for full circle moment. I did one of the monthly social setups and I came across the Katharine Hepburn quote with vitality. That's the pursuit of life, isn't it? And I thought that was a really daunting question from Katharine Hepburn because I felt like it was so open-ended. It was like, well, is there a simplistic answer here? It's going to be really complicated. I don't quite understand what vitality is. But through the past week or so, I've really kind of buckled down to figure out what vitality means to me. And I certainly used some of the synonyms. Vitality is the energy. So looking at from the recharging your energy, recharging your battery, but finding your spark, finding your passion, reigniting all of those things, whatever kind of euphemism you want to use. And I came back to, for me, embracing vitality was saying yes to more things. And that's yes to the things that I've always loved doing, saying yes to making time for the hobbies. I think of a recent example is I do love to see old places, tours. I love to travel. So I had the opportunity to go see a couple castles in the area with a really amazing group of people. But it was asked that we kind of, essentially we were going to be storming the castle. So to kind of dress the part a little bit. And so I was a little hesitant because I was like, that seems really silly. I'm in my late 30s. I don't need to be dressing like a fairy princess running around a castle. But I actually embraced it and was like, no, we'll do it. We'll wholeheartedly participate. And I am so glad I did. I am so glad I said yes to the dress to participate in this. And now I have these great pictures of not only me, but the people that I went with. Whereas if I had gone to these places by myself on just a regular day, I probably wouldn't have gotten a picture of me at these castles. So it was saying yes to those type of things and being a little bit unapologetic of why you said yes. So when I told people that this is what I did, they were like, oh my God, it sounds so much fun. I was like, I know. I don't know why I was so worried. So to answer Katharine Hepburn's question, vitality, that's the pursuit of life, isn't it? It is, yes, it is. Saying yes to more things. But I'm also going to say in the same sentence, it doesn't mean you need to do more per se, because I think sometimes when you're dealing with recharging your battery or filling your cup or igniting your passion, sometimes the answer actually is no. You need to rest, you need to refresh. And I love the themes that encourage the action item. So vitality is the saying yes to more things, but also needing to remind even myself, you got to rest, you got to recharge. So maybe some of those answers are yes or maybe a no. And someone in one of the other socials said yes and no are complete sentences. So that's another one of those fully acknowledging, yes, I should go out and do more, but I also need to listen and take the time to rest and refresh as necessary. So with those particular things that we're working on, we're going to do our week 4 of the Vitality Mind Map. And then the Rosebud Thorn exercise, as well as then those weekly setup pages. So if you haven't done a mind map before, these are unique to the weekly setups. We luckily include all of the past weeks, so don't feel like you need to catch up. What I do like about the mind map is it certainly gives us a way to explore the theme a little bit deeper each week. But at the same time, if the question doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to do it. You can kind of jot down some notes, do some other things. You can come back to it, or you can also use the entire week to explore some of these particular questions. So find that blank page that you have built your mind map on, or whatever blank space in your journal that you've started to do that 4th week. And with that being said, this will be the last one for March. We'll have I think a bonus question next week, which I think are always fun. And so for week 4, we're looking at practices to enhance vitality throughout the year. What habits and activities can help us cultivate more vitality on a daily basis? And don't worry, I will come back to these slides when I go off camera and play some music. But if you ever need me to slow down, go back to a different slide, just throw that in the chat and we will do that. I always deviate just a little bit from the question. I like to come up with a couple other ways to approach it, or at least ways that maybe I thought of as I was answering it. So the top one is the one that I just read. So that's what habits and activities can help cultivate more vitality daily. And then I dove a little bit deeper with the, do you know your go-to activities that really spark your passion? If you had a bad day, if you had, a bad conversation, something a little bit negative, do you have your lists of kind of things on some sort of time scale? Because as much as I would say, if I had a bad day, I would love to get on a plane and go to a really warm beach somewhere, but I know that's not realistic all the time. So I have, playlists that'll bring me back into a really good mood, or maybe it's a TV episode, or a book or a poem, those type of things. And do you have those activities that you can kind of do by yourself? I love to participate. I'm a people person, but there are definitely times where I just need a break from people. So I have those list of activities that I can do. So, or even then, can you call up some of those friends or acquaintances and say, hey, do you want to do this? And kind of those things. So do you know what those activities are and how can you incorporate them? And so that moves a little bit into the next question. How can you make more time for these? For me, a lot of what sparks my passion are my hobbies. And so it's always making time that I can spend more time on those hobbies. But on the other side is I feel like I've actually done a pretty good job of incorporating them into my day-to-day routines already. And so I think this was a really good opportunity to also celebrate how are you already enhancing your vitality on a daily basis. And that could be you've really gotten into a great journal routine, the 15, 20 minutes that you take to do the daily rituals. I think there's an opportunity now to celebrate those things that we're already doing without always having to feeling like we need to, rewrite our routine or revitalize or shuffle it again to pull random things in. And then Can you help someone else find their vitality? I feel like when you're around your friends or family and you just kind of see when maybe they're a little bit duller, their spark is not as bright as it usually is. Can you share some of these things to help them enhance their vitality? So I'm going to stop talking. I will let you all work on this, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I loved seeing all of the different activities that you include. Also seeing some that you definitely do by yourself and those with groups and how fulfilling it is. That is what I do find really special about these socials is the connection and the common interests here. But then just like I said, you all are very inspiring, so I always get really excited when you find these as well. And with the particular mind maps, I feel like there definitely have been months where they're really nice, kind of surface level answers. And so they're really kind of fun. It's a good little break from things. But then there are other months, I feel like this one for me in particular, where I definitely went on a little bit more of a kind of mental emotional journey as I went. My first couple weeks when we were talking about those different categories, they seemed to be a little bit more on the kind of melancholy side or the like less optimistic that I would normally find myself. But then I did enjoy the kind of again full circle moment coming back and embracing a little bit more of the optimism side of things, a little bit more myself. But I do find those really powerful and certainly not something I would have maybe taken time to think about or explore. But knowing that you don't always have to do it, but you can always come back to these questions through the week. You can revisit those, but I've really enjoyed the mind maps recently, especially because again, sometimes I'm never sure how I feel about it until I start doing it. So again, say yes to participating in some of these prompts as you go. So now we are going to move to page 50 in your March journal with that rosebud thorn reflection. So again, an opportunity to look at the wins, the celebrations, the highlights, the things that you're then potentially excited for, new opportunities to come, and then maybe some of those less thrilling, maybe the lower points of the particular week. And what I love about this one is this could be something that you just want to put out into the universe down on the page, remove it from the headspace, put it there and leave it. Or you may have had like a really, really great week. So you want to build some of that momentum and embrace one of those kind of highlights, or maybe you're still celebrating some of those highlights. But I do really, really enjoy this reflection. I think it is a great way to then shift into the next week from the previous week. And so the rose, that's going to be your highlight, something that was positive, that made you smile, that recharged your battery, brought back some of the vitality. Excuse me. I went and had essentially a night at the theater with some of my drama friends. There were like 10 of us that ended up going. But beforehand, Mike, I would say kind of closer friends that I do a lot more with, we all met up for dinner and drinks beforehand. But we went and saw in true Americana fashion, Death of a Salesman. And it was a really fantastic show. It was really good, but also just, again, a really fun thing to go to with friends and night at the theater. So that was definitely a big highlight for me this past week. The bud is going to be an emerging opportunity, something that you're looking forward to, something that has potential, something that is exciting. And in embracing all of the kind of, it doesn't matter how big or small, saying yes to things. I am a big Christmas lights fan, but I love that someone in one of the socials said, well, year-round Christmas lights or fairy lights. I was like, excellent. So I have now put out fairy lights on my banister where normally I would have Christmas lights, but now I have my a year round lights, and I just love the ambiance that it brings. I sit and I can read and it just makes me happy. So it's just those little things. So I'm excited about the rest of the year with the fairy lights. And then the thorn is going to be that challenge, something that didn't go as well, something that is a bit of a distraction, something that's maybe taking up too much mental headspace or physical space, all of those things. And so for me, thorn, I have a autoimmune condition. And one of the early symptoms of that for me was early onset arthritis. So I have some deterioration points in my wrist and fingers and spot in my hip. And I really woke up with just some left wrist pain, and that always makes me a little bit nervous. Did I sleep on it weird? Did I maybe just hit it? Or is that now potentially it moving and progressing further, which, having to potentially adjust for a new normal always cause for pause. And so it's certainly one of those things that is bit more on my mind than I would like it to be. So again, we are on page 50 for that Rosebud Thorn Reflections. I would love to see in the chat if you want to share your rosebud thorns. But again, this is a great opportunity to just put out into the world something that you're happy about, something that you're getting excited about, and maybe something that maybe didn't go as well for some of that extra just support and thoughts headed your direction. And we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. You guys have such amazing roses to really, really be grateful and so exciting. It was so great to see that, seeing a lot of people on various healthcare journeys and hitting some of those milestones. But then on the flip side, seeing some of those really tough thorns, a lot of loss. I know recently within our Sonder fam, just across the board, but also again, some of those potential medical setbacks there as well. But appreciate everyone sharing. I love the socials, and I feel, especially with our returning socialers, I get so invested in your all's lives. So it's always great to just celebrate with us and then provide and get some of that maybe extra thought and support, or at least just the acknowledgement that it's not going the way it should. And I feel like that always makes it at least a little less alone. So thank you everybody for sharing. And so now we're going to shift into those weekly planning pages. So this is going to be page 52 and 53 in your March journal. And as we go, because we are held to a time, please feel free to continue to respond to the prompts in the chat, even as we go. And same thing with feel free to continue to work on whatever section you're wanting to work on. There is no, again, due date here, but we do have a time limit on the particular social. So I'll be moving as we go through. And as always, the way I like to kind of rephrase this is asking yourself, what do you need this week? I feel like that can be a really good starting point, especially if you are maybe didn't quite hit all of the highlights that you wanted to last week, or maybe you want to just keep building on that momentum because you had a good week. But I always like to ask myself, what do I need this week? Because in my mind, each week is going to look a little bit different. And so it's how can I can control some of those factors so that my week will feel like one of the better weeks that I've had, because we know that a lot of folks are either coming in and out of spring break if you have children, or if you're in the education side of things. So we know that those weeks look a little bit different. And so maybe when you ask yourself, what do you need this week? Maybe it's you need the pages exactly as written with just the simple answers. You don't want to do anything too complicated because that's just not what you need this week. Or maybe your week is, I need to completely kind of change all this. I need to repurpose everything. And sometimes the week requires blank spaces in these, and kind of acknowledge the fact that maybe I don't need habits and activities these weeks because I'm just going to be really busy, or I've got a lot of other things going on, or maybe my goals aren't quite aligned with what I need to do for the week. So being able to kind of zoom back out and ask yourself, what do I need this week? And just because of the examples I provide or the conversations that we have, again, no right or wrong way to do this, but it's always great to get a little bit of inspiration from all of you. So again, we're going to start at the top of page 52 with This Week I Want to Feel. I like this one as kind of, again, I'm a theater person or a movie person, I'm a good musical fan. So I always take this as like, this is the I want song moment. So it's more of, I want to take control of my week. So I ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? It is that moment where even if for this like just short 10 minutes, I have ownership of my week, and I can kind of manifest it. And this is my end goal. This is my end state. And by doing that, this is how I'm going to take control of my week. And then I'm going to build in the goals and the to-dos and my habits and activities to help support that with those particular tools. And so the way you can kind of ask yourself that question is, maybe it is a word, maybe it's a phrase, maybe it's a combination, maybe it's 1% better, maybe it is more something, maybe it is less something, maybe it's embracing the particular theme, maybe you really kind of want to focus a little bit more on vitality. Or maybe it's the word that you used last week because it was so powerful and it still resonates with you. Also could be your word of the year. It could be your word of the month. You maybe need a different word for each day for that added motivation. Maybe you want to add a doodle to it. Maybe it's a particular definition of a word, and maybe it's like just a good sticker. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. I saw that we had some photographers in the group. So maybe that is really where you're going to build the motivation. But I would love to hear him put on just a quick song. Love to hear how you want to feel this time next week. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I love the intentional optimism that this question usually asks. And I love Kara sharing her aha moment with us. And I think that's another kind of good section that you can come back to this to is maybe you couldn't quite figure out what you want your week to look like. And one of our other facilitators, Bailey, will actually do this particular section last. She'll go through and fill out all the other sections and kind of use this one as at least the summary, or she usually stumbles across the aha moment of based on my to-dos and my habits and activities and my meal plan and my mind body health plan, this is actually what I think my week is going to look like. So I love again those magical aha moments. I just think they're really fun. And it's even just that like little excitement. It definitely puts a smile on anybody's face when you come across it. So we are still going to stay on page 52, but I'm going to combine these next two sections with the examples. So I'm combining the weekly major three goals and the weekly to-dos. And part of it is that just because these commonly get used together and kind of hand in hand. For me, the major three goals are the mental or emotional reminders I need to give myself so that I can feel the way I want to feel this time next week. And then I overlay those action items on the to-do side as I go. Another great way to approach this section is categories. Love a good category. And I also feel like it's one of those you're kind of helping yourself get yourself to an answer. So maybe your categories are a professional, a mind, a body. Maybe it's a creative goal, a capable goal, and a carefree goal. Or maybe you're like, Katie, this week is not a week for goals. I got my big goals. I've got my long range goals. This week, I just want to embrace the vitality by talking about the movie and show that's making me happy, the book that's making me happy, and whatever creative project I'm working on. Or it could be, again, those like larger summary ideas, or it could be like, no joke, these are the three things that I need to get done. They're the top priority, all of those things. Or maybe you want to break up your goals into you want to have an early goal, a midday goal, and an evening goal for each of your days, which I think is a really great way of kind of building those kind of mental check-ins as you go. The one in the middle is the particular person, Gwen, posted this in the Silk and Sonder app. But her goal, she's just got one goal this week, and that's planning, make a plan to go back to school. And that is directly supported by 3 of her weekly to-dos. So you can certainly zoom this in a little bit if there's like one big thing that you want to accomplish. Just because we say 3 doesn't mean it's got to be 3 goals. Maybe it's 2 goals, maybe it's 1 goals, maybe it's 6 goals. There is no requirement there. And then we've got our good old bingo boards. And then the final iterations of things. The one at the bottom left, I think certainly embraces a lot of the Silk and Saunders staples when it comes to goals and to-do lists. They have the 3 different categories of mind, body, and soul. They are embracing the different things, a planning, a doing, and a peacefulness. And they've directly correlated their weekly to-dos into those particular goals and those particular categories and put it in a bingo board format. It's like the perfect, I know it's not Thanksgiving yet, but it's the perfect Silk and Sonder turducken of all of those things combined in one into those 2 sections. But it's the way you can kind of build on all of those pieces to help support all of those with, again, the end goal is going to be accomplishment. And then, as always, maybe you want to stop doing something. Maybe you want to embrace more of a routine category, or again, some of those alliteration categories. Maybe this is where those weekly affirmations are going to be. Maybe you want to completely switch the sections because the format works a little bit better. I love when it's those type of simple things of like, oh, why'd you do this? Well, it was like, I like the lines better for my to-do list, and the stickers do better on a blank square. And then the weekly to-dos, I feel like social media called me out because I am a ta-da fan. So I love that may all your to-dos turn into ta-das. And so I thought this was the perfect quote for this particular section because you can treat it as a traditional to-do list. I am a ta-da fan because I like to have a little celebration. But either way, whether it is a to-do list or a ta-da list, we just want it to be to-done. And sometimes the twos don't help. I will then embrace the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, or delete. I have found this really helpful when I have just a random listing, an assortment of, and I do appreciate that is actually forcing me to utilize delegation a lot more. I do live alone, and the independent personality in me does not like to delegate, but I have been embracing it more, and I've realized that it's just my energy and emotion and all the thing around it skyrockets. So less stress about tools and acquiring those things. That's what the maintenance folks are for. And I recently delegated. I'm bringing in maid service once a month that I was still beating myself up doing it, where it's like you should be able to set aside to do time like this. I almost saw it a little bit as a failure. But they were here this past week, and I have never had such cleaning product envy. But it was amazing. But I'm still kind of again wrestling with the mental failure potentially. But I know it was the best thing that I could have done to delegate that out just for the extra support and the time back. It's amazing. And then we also have the Pomodoro technique for some of those longer multi-step tasks. Or maybe it's just recategorizing your to-do list with your needs and your wants, or maybe don't do this instead. Maybe you're like, Katie, my to-dos live elsewhere, so I just want to provide a little bit of motivation, which is the treasure myself, or again, those stickers. Or even it's just a to-be if you maybe struggle to find some of those roses this past week. Maybe this is where the weekly wins go. Maybe it's a big spring sticker to get you in the mood. Since it sounded like some of you all had some snow, so maybe it's a way to get inspired and excited about spring. Or again, combining your work to-dos and your personal to-dos, but still in that need want categorization. So I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this. Let me know if I need to go back to some particular slides, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. So now that we have overlaid our goals and what we need to do this week, we are going to now incorporate those habits and activities. I love, I love this. I posted it in the app last night, the Snail Girl Spring. I am absolutely embracing Snail Girl Spring with all of my habits and activities now until summer. So I would highly encourage anyone to join us on the Snail Girl Spring, which is the eat your veggies, spend time in your cell, hydrate, and take your time. So I just found that really fun, and I thought it was another fun way to kind of embrace the habits and activities. So with habits and activities, I really enjoy this particular tracker because, again, this is where I do find a lot of my vitality and energizing and incorporating those hobbies and making time for. So I will use my monthly habit tracker. I am a creature of habits. So I have the same three things that I want to do every single day, and that is move, journal, and read. And so these things are so staple and so foundational to my days that I will then pull them into my weekly tracker, which is what we're working on now, and add that lens of reality. So it's a little bit more of I will do all of these things each day, but how much time can I realistically account for it based on weather, other obligations, workload, all of those things. So that is what I like about this section. This is my lens of reality to my habits and activities. And so maybe you want to include that as particular goals. You have a particular goal that you want to set for it, or you leave it blank. Maybe this is where your mental reminders are. Or maybe you are getting ready to go on a trip, or you are having a certain medical situation going on. So maybe you don't actually want to do your habits and activities. So you can maybe do one or two. You can use those there. Maybe you just don't have them at all because you want to be present. I also like the fact that you can do the weekend days versus your weekdays, because we know that those can look a little bit different. And then I have found this 5 days to schedule every month because, like I said, I have my three things that I want to do every single day. And then I will always incorporate a fun fourth thing or a fifth thing. The fourth activity I'm doing this week is coincidentally finding the sun. That is just what I have it labeled because with the time change, there's now a spot on my couch that normally doesn't get sun. So when the sun is there, I will pause whatever I'm doing and I will grab my book and I will do my quick little 10, 15-minute break there. When it is a nice day, we don't always get the sun. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out and find the sun. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do this. So that is my fourth habit and activity that I am tracking. And that's where I think you can incorporate some of these. Maybe you have an unplugged day, a self-care day, a reset day, or a learning day, or a fun day, but you can incorporate these type of activities into your habits and activities on a weekly basis. So I would certainly encourage you to do something a little bit fun, a little bit, almost spontaneous, even though I do even like planned spontaneity. But I think that's a fun way to incorporate that into these habits and activities, a lot of what you're already doing. And I am a big visual person, so I like the iconography that these next ones show. And I had a pretty busy week, and I was just feeling that I was running from one thing to the other. So I liked the tiny ways to slow down, and a lot of them are just very, very elegantly simplistic in what you're doing. And some of it, again, is your things you're already doing, but being able to kind of identify it as this type of thing. Calling rest can sometimes feel a little bit silly because you're not doing anything, but calling it as a rest because it is what I need, naming it is going to be a little bit different. And then, as always, with the spring bucket list coming up, I always think of it as like, for me, spring officially arrives when I open my windows and have them open all day. And I know it's just that kind of very simple thing, but to me, that's the arrival. And I love that. And then again, if you're in that kind of counting goal concept, I also liked these healthy habits to be incorporated there. So I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this as well, but I would love to hear what habits and activities you are working on this week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And like I said, I like the idea of having those core activities that you certainly want to do, but then always adding something fun, something different, something seasonal, or something just a little bit challenging. And that's kind of the way I approach my habits and activities each and every week. So we are now going to flip over to page 53. I'm going to combine all of these sections just because a lot of them get repurposed a lot. So we have a lot of repurposed examples. And I also lovingly refer to this side as the B side. I am a big music person, so I treat it as a record. We just completed side A, which is what I listen to every week, all the time. And then there are some on the B side that have some really nice gems, but I don't always listen to the B side. So that means I don't always use these sections. But when I do use them, it is certainly far more purposeful than if I was just trying to arbitrarily use them on a week to week basis, but that's just my personal preference. So we have the meal plan, which you can use it exactly as is a meal plan for meal prep, or maybe you want to do it in kind of a real time tracker because you are on a potential healthcare journey, either tracking symptoms or intake, all of those things. Maybe this is where your to-do list lives. Maybe this is where you want to track those one good things, which I think goes kind of hand in hand a little bit with the meal plan for the soul concept. Maybe this is where you do the daily rituals or the journal prompts or your priorities or the daily affirmations. Or I think the daily doodles have become a bit popular. And then maybe you want to use it as a clothing tracker. I have a work conference coming up, so I will absolutely be using this page for that particular thing. I love it for a clothing and vacation planner as well as a work from home. Or maybe again, you want to do something a little bit more on the creative side with those haikus. Shifting over to that mind body health plan. Again, this could be something that you could plan ahead for and schedule, or it can be something that you keep track of in real time. So maybe you want to embrace the alliteration of the days with the walk and water Wednesday, thoughtful reflection Thursday, frustration free Friday, the seize the weekend Saturday, and then culminating with a self-care Sunday. Or maybe you want to incorporate a little bit more of that kind of daily mental check-in. So the idea of asking yourself what you feel and then what you need as a way to kind of counterbalance that. I love that particular T-chart exercise. And I don't know if everyone has heard, but we have started to incorporate a digital version of the Silk and Sonder journal. So the one on the right is a picture taken from someone who has our digital option in one of the apps that they're using. So they completely covered up the mind body health plan as well as the shopping list to include the things that they were going to do this week. So if you're interested in trying out the digital option, you can still do both. Email hello@silkandsonder.com and they'll send you over that so you can potentially start incorporating that across whatever app you want to use or even being able to print it out. And then I know someone had just mentioned the 7 types of rest. Jennifer provided that link to the 7 different types of rest quiz. But the top middle example includes those: the social, spiritual, mental, creative, emotional, sensory, physical rest. Another one of those alliteration days. And then maybe you want to just track a particular routine or a reading log, or again, focusing on maybe one of those specific goals and unplugging for an hour, one of those fun days that you have scheduled. I really liked this one as well. Again, iconography is playing a part. I liked the idea of the natural dopamine. I'm one of those that really certainly boosts my energy. So incorporating some of those things on the day-to-day basis, encouraging myself to take those necessary breaks during the week as well. And then again, I've been just a little bit in my feels recently. So when I'm feeling these kind of the gentle reminders to do that, because I feel like we all need a little bit of a mini pep talk. And I have found nothing more powerful than when I'm not in a great mood. I am the one that's absolutely going to pull me out of it. So these little kind of helpful hints is maybe what I also need. And then we've got the shopping list, which can go hand in hand with the meal plan or any of those things. But this is where a lot of folks will put their bingo boards. So you pick the theme, you pick the idea, and you can turn it into a bingo board. You can also incorporate, again, some more of those social check-ins. I know that has been growing in popularity. I've used that in the past weeks to just kind of make sure I'm jotting down the friends that I'm thinking of, checking in with them as we go. Or then maybe you want to do a glimmer bingo, or again, some of those finding the sun bingos or quotes. If you have the sticker set, those are actually built in with those different fun bingo variations. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. We'll do one final song before we close out, and we will see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Just like that, we have reached the end. But that very last section on page 53, the I am loving, I saw that someone said there, I'm loving turned into reality, which was magic. And I love that. But this is that very last section that allows you to just throw out what is making you smile, what is feeding your vitality, what is making you happy, all of those things. For me this week, I am certainly loving the playlists. I've been in really just like a sit and listen to music mode. And then I've also been so consumed with books that I've been reading recently. They're continuations in series that I love. So being able to fall back into those worlds are amazing. And it always makes me happy and just becomes all consuming. And I love it. But as always, we would love to continue the conversation in the Silk and Sonder app. So if you would want to share their pages, we would love to see them there. You guys provide amazing examples as well as inspiration, which is what we use for a lot of these socials. And then, as always, we still have the 24-hour, 24/7 coaching option. Jenny, she is wonderful. She's amazing. You can still use some of those codes because we're still in our beta testing version, and keep an eye out for some additional upcoming demonstrations of it as well. And like I said, I mentioned the digital option. You can reach out to Hello at Silk and Sonder if you want to do that as well. I saw someone mentioned the Vitality playlist. I keep all of my socials that I do for the playlists that I have, and I have listed mine as Vitality. I think I've got 4 for March, 4 or 5 for March Vitality. So I will provide the link to those Spotify playlists if you want to use that. And so thank you for sharing your Monday with us. We were so glad to have this moment together. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your week as we close out week 4 of March. We hope to see you at a future event. You guys are going to have a great day, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Sing out in a hurricane. We'll whistle in the winds of change. Get our dancing shoes when storm clouds start to gather. 'Cause love we know is the only thing that matters now. So let's dance in the rain. Feel our hearts fill up again. These storms may come and go, but love always remains. So let's dance, dance, dance in the rain. We'll stay cool when the fire burns. When night comes, we'll be fireworks. When the winds are howling, we'll float like a feather. And time will run, but we will stay forever young. So let's dance in the rain. Feel our hearts fill up again. These storms may come and go, but love always remains. So let's dance, dance, dance in the rain. Now we can feel it. This is the